Last week, the director of the Africa On-Screen Film Festival, Tanya, Hodza, told us about the importance of creating platforms to screen African films. Well, today she's back with us to discuss the significance of the films that were screened at the festival. Good morning, Tanya. How are you?
Great, thanks, Leanne.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us again. Now, one of the big screenings at the Africa On-Screen Film Festival was the worldwide phenomenon Sembeni, which has already been critically acclaimed and appeared at both Sundance and Cannes Film Festival. Now, this docu follows the journey of the African father of cinema, Ousmane Sembeni. Let's have a look at the trailer.
Some say we are made of flesh and blood. I believe we are made of stories. So, let me tell you a story of the dog walker who taught himself how to make movies and invented a cinema for a new Africa.
Ousmane Sembeni fought for over 50 years to return African stories to Africans. Now, Tanya, what I want to know from you this morning is, do you think the current state of cinema in Africa is representative of what this legend fought for?
I definitely think that the cinema industry in Africa is starting to get to his vision in terms of the variety of stories that are being told, in terms of, the different cultures that are being celebrated as well, and really using, I guess, the art of cinema as, art agenda, really pushing forward some key themes on, the cultures that are the different themes in our current state as well in terms of our economies and our journeys as different countries.
Well, let's look at another powerful African story as we move on to the South African favorite, Kalushi. Now, this film tells the story of international icon Solomon Mahlangu, who died before his time fighting for the liberation of South Africa from apartheid. Let's have a look at this trailer.
Revolution is the greatest act of love. Love for one's people, love for one's country. We're more than just fighters. We're lovers. All we want is freedom. Freedom for children to learn, freedom for men to work, for mothers to love, for a nation to grow.
Sitting here complaining about how you're oppressed in your own land won't solve anything. It's time to fight back. It's time to educate yourselves, to discipline yourselves.
I think it's time we did something.
Tanya, you know what I love about this movie is that Kalushi marks the first time that a South African hero from the apartheid era is played by a South African lead actor in a full-length motion picture movie. Now, the lead character is Kalushi, or rather in Kalushi, was of course played by South African actor Thabo Rametsi. What more do you think can be done to further empower African filmmakers from all disciplines to tell their stories?
I think one thing that I guess was a key lesson out of seeing Kalushi come to, because I followed, Walter Dube as he was talking about doing the film, is just the confidence to come up with your stories and really stand by them. I think his passion in making sure history is told and really told in a thorough way in terms of really going back and tracing, the history of Solomon Mahlangu and taking that additional time to learn about this before the film comes to is one thing most African directors and producers really need to own that process of ensuring that their stories are true to self. And that's something that also ties back to, financial backing and the like. But as more and more Africans realize, the booming industry that cinema really is, the more we'll sort of self-fund and really offer a platform for our directors, our writers, and our producers to have stories that really call true to home and that they stand by through and through.
Well, then lastly, let's have a look at the supernatural drama Nomfundo. Now, this short film is about a tormented young woman who, when confronted with betrayal, makes an erratic decision that unleashes a tragic chain of events. We have a short trailer, so let's check it out.
Ngicabanga lelanga lengatalwa ngalo. Ngivele ngicabanga lesisho lesithi liswane lelikhala esiswini samakwalo aliviywa ngemuntu.
Tanya, let's talk about Nomfundo. Not only is it a supernatural drama, but it's also in an African language. Is the entire movie like that?
Yes, so the entire movie is in Siswati, I believe it is. And just the beauty of, I guess, people being able to take that in and, you know, go through the subtitle journey and still understand the themes. It's quite amazing how the audience that watched us here in Melbourne really had, you know, a lot of questions for the director who we were hosting here. And just the beauty of them understanding the key messages and the key themes out of that, regardless of it being in a different language for most of us who are not Siswati.
Well, thank you so much, Tanya, for talking to us. It's so exciting to see where African film is going and to see Africans behind the camera, in front of the camera, writing the stories, and of course, making sure that they are staying here on home ground and also reaching the rest of the world, even you right there in Melbourne.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for having me again, and definitely would love to hear more about what's coming out of the South African scene and other places in Africa and the growth of African cinema.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tanya Hodza. Of course, the growth of South African and African cinema is definitely very exciting, and the best is still yet to come.